Can you guys walk me through this story and the credibility of this story from Athlon's, a magazine, an entity that I've been reading since childhood, but that doesn't really have – Steve Corder is the author of this article, but this is not a place where news generally breaks.
They're still at it, huh?
Not only are they still at it, this report, if it were in the mainstream, I think people would be feasting right now like piranha, because – Deion Sanders, you will remember, garnered a whole lot of attention and a whole lot of people who are interested in seeing him win and interested in seeing him fail. And this report makes it feel like Colorado of 2024 is old Miami. It's guns and crazy and a recklessness in the locker room. What is the credibility of this report?
So Steve Corder spoke to former players from the University of Colorado, and they anonymously gave quotes. And one former player said, "It's like a real-life Grand Theft Auto video game. There are many distractions with fights, guns, money floating around. The environment is unlike anything I've come before." Inside the article, you'll see details of allegations of Shiloh Sanders bullying Cormani McClain and bloody fist fights over gambling debts, and really just a lack of true relationship with a head coach outside of a certain handpicked a couple of players, most notably his sons and Travis Hunter, who is like a son to Deion.
It would make sense that the way that Deion Sanders is doing everything in the new Wild West of business in college football, that something like this would be so. But, Lucy, what do I do with the credibility of this report? Because if this was being reported by ESPN, everybody would be talking about it.
And, Dan, to your point, there are other people, like Jason Whitlock has spoken to former football players from that program on the record, not anonymously, and they've levied not so, like, these are really headline-grabbing words that are being used here, but they haven't painted a very positive picture of the locker room culture in Colorado.
Not sure I want to hear from former players, though, because they have an axe to grind with Deion Sanders.
Or Jason Whitlock.
Yeah, but their axe to grind is the culture here and their treatment inside. Yes, it's very evident, but you want them to tough out what they have gone on the record to say is a bad culture just because you don't think it's as tough, and they have
I understand what Stugotz is doing. We do this all the time with bad messengers. Unfortunately, on these kinds of messages, there can only be bad messengers because there's punitive damage done if you do it while still inside the program.
Would you prefer the other side of the token where conventional sporting entities just really embrace the Colorado thing because it's a ratings bonanza? Because I don't think you're painting an accurate picture there either.
No, I'm fine with this. I'm just saying that Dan is questioning the credibility of this, and I'm saying it would be more credible if it were current players and not former.
I don't mean to question the credibility. Lucy, walk me through what I'm supposed to do in the new information age. What I'm saying is, so if this was an ESPN report, everybody would be talking about it today.
Yes, if it were an ESPN report. I haven't read Athlon Sports since I was a kid. Sorry, Dan. I haven't heard of this guy before. I think the word violent is a very dangerous word to throw around. The stuff that we've heard about Deion not talking to players and not having close relationships, I think that's all been pretty well documented before, especially The Athletic did such a great article a couple months back, just talking to players who were at Colorado before and then transferred when Deion got in. I felt like that was a really good story. When it comes to this is such dangerous territory that I don't really want to buy into it because I think the implications are really bad for Deion in Colorado if it's true, and I don't want to spread anything that might not be true.
I get that. That's
journalism. Guess who got a journalism major? Me.
I know it's
degree.
It's very responsible, but might not be true. This is why I'm asking. You said I was questioning the credibility. I guess I'm questioning because I'm just asking about it. Like I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this kind of story when everyone is after Deion Sanders and there is a misinformation age, and you do have to be careful about who's reporting what. But I do feel like it's unfair if someone's done the reporting of this, talked to former players. I do think it's unfair to dismiss the reporting just because he doesn't happen to work for ESPN.
What's working against him is that he's not working for ESPN, that he's working for Athlon Sports, that we haven't read this thing since we were kids and they never reported anything. I
think it rings believable, and I think it would of any college football program that started off 3-0 and was the national darling and then went completely off the rails and lost 8 of their last 9 games. Something was happening in that program.
The bullying is not something.
The offensive line is what was happening, Greg.
This is not a normal. This is not a normal
but you know what
thing.
I mean? If you start 3-0 and finish 4-8, that's not normal in football, and something was happening, and I think
she just told you what it was.
It's normal for Colorado.
She just told you what it was, though. Their line was too small. Their
Right.
offensive line was much too small.
Okay, I'm suggesting there might have been other factors.
I know, but that's
ripping
why
that locker
Lucy's
room
saying it's
apart.
unfair and irresponsible to make the other factors. Hey, Deion can't control his black kids.
Yeah, but this isn't an anonymous Twitter account. This is a journalistic entity that you have given credibility because you have read it, and no one's really had anything to say about this company's credibility other than they're not ESPN. They've spoken to former players. I understand casting a fair amount of scrutiny here, but I think the light that we're shining on this is also a little bit unfair. This is not. I mean, you're giving us the avenue of this is either true or fiction. I imagine it's a little bit more complicated, and he goes out of his way to say this is a former player's perspective.
Knowing the journalist is an interesting one, and I think this is something that is changing now in the age of credibility. Lucy, just by virtue of her voice over a year here, is gaining credibility. This is a difficult
It's not
thing.
working for me.
This is a difficult thing, though, to manage because no one here knows this journalist, right? We don't know who Steve is.
I've never heard of Steve Quarter before. We should probably have him on to defend maybe the merits of this story. And Deion has done the public social media thing of hinting at other people's intent when it comes to these types of things. I mean, it's very obvious to anyone, and several media companies have covered the preferential treatment that he gives his 2 sons and Travis Hunter. There's a video out there circulating, hey, at the next level, you're not allowed to hit the quarterback. You don't hit Travis. You don't hit Shador. You don't hit them. I'm teaching you that. That's something that you do at the next level. That's how we do it here in Colorado.
We're 60 minutes now. Huh?
Still going strong, Stugotz. 60 Minutes is still going strong.
Investigate this.
Okay. It is still a very reputable news source, 60 Minutes is.
If you say so.
This one is juicy, though. When you think of all you do know about the program, the idea of his son being able to bully people in the locker room with a power unlike anybody in the locker room, because he's not just the coach's son, but he's their best player. He's the quarterback, and a young kid. All of this is ripe for the dramatic tensions that Lucy says we shouldn't irresponsibly talk
And
about.
you should view it with scrutiny, but it's also, it may be circumstantial, but Cormani McClain transferred out of the program, and they use a transfer portal more than anybody, so there's a ton of roster turnover. Ample anonymous athletes to interview.
Look, you guys are not talking about the most important part of Colorado right now, and that's that they decided to open up the season with North Dakota State. North Dakota State. We're not going to be worrying about any of this in about a month.
You don't do that. You don't schedule
Don't
Dakota.
do that. Everyone learns the hard way. Do not do that.